Ladies and gentlemen, it's such an honor to get a hold of one of my favorite players of all time at the Ohio State University football program. You know him as BB. I know him as Robert BB, but Robert BB Landers. Robert BB Landers, welcome to the Tim A podcast, my man.
I appreciate you for having me, brother.
Let's give people an update. I mean, I don't know if you know this, you've got kind of like, you could be a Pied Piper because you have quite the following of folks who have been very interested in you throughout your career, especially as you came on and became a big-time player on the Ohio State defensive line. But they're very curious about, number one, why you weren't drafted, and you wouldn't even know the answer to that. But number two, just sort of how things have gone since the draft when you didn't hear your name called. And so far, I think you haven't signed a free agent contract, at least that I know of as of yet. But just number one, what is your status right now vis-a-vis pro football?
As of right now, I still have not signed with the team. The process has been a little interesting, with everything in our world right now going on. So it's kind of put a little bit of a damper on the process, but it's one of the things I'm just taking the process one day at a time. So I know from talking to speaking with my agent and him kind of, doing his job and shopping me around and even talking to Coach Johnson a little bit, the biggest thing with me right now is just me being able to pass the physical, just due to some of the injuries that I had, while I was at Ohio State, that comes with the game. Mm-hmm. It brought up some curiosities for some teams as far as, where is my health physical wise. And so as of right now, we're waiting for things to kind of, settle down and teams to start to open up so I can get in, get a physical, and then from there, prepare myself to be on somebody's team and be going to somebody's camp.
Yeah, I was going to say the COVID-19 quarantine. I'm writing a song about that, by the way. The COVID-19 quarantine. I'm going to have you lead singer on it, especially if you wear that cowboy hat. But
I'll definitely do that.
It would have a country bent to it. But the COVID-19 quarantine really hurt guys like you. You saw where Jayshon Cornell slipped in like the 7th round, and things like that. I mean, it really hurt that you didn't get to go to the combine. But then number two, you didn't get that pro day at Ohio State or anywhere else to really prove yourself, right?
Yeah, it hurt big time. Not getting the combine invite, of course, getting an invite to the combine, number one, is any player's dream, but it's one of those things, too, you really you get the, let's say, first dibs on making an impression on GMs and coaches of, different organizations. But the beautiful thing about Ohio State is our pro day is the next best thing you're going to get to the combine is because we pretty much have almost every single team being represented at our pro day. And, kind of coming in, I had left where I was training at early, to kind of come back and get some work in with Coach Johnson because, he wanted to do things a little differently this year to where he was running our pro day. So kind of come back, polish some things up, you know what I mean? And, kind of get the Coach Johnson critique on everything. So, coming back, I felt like I was peaking and I felt good and I was performing well. I was doing the drills good. 225 was good. Like everything was just like was happening at the right time. And, this COVID hit and it was just kind of put a roadblock in front of a lot of people's journeys, me being one of those people. So, it definitely hit hard and definitely affected a lot of guys in negative ways. But at the end of the day, how I've been trying to look at it is from a positive perspective of, the journey is not over with. And, I'm blessed to wake up every morning and me still have an opportunity some way, somehow, when it's clear up to be in somebody's camp and, still to continue my football career, making childhood dream a reality. So I'm just trying to take it day by day. God gives me 24 hours. I try to take advantage of the 24 the best that I can.
BB, one of the things I like about you is you talk in complete sentences. You're coherent. I mean, you let people know. You have a way of letting people know how you feel, etc. When you sat there on your couch in your chair or while you were pacing or when you were running outside to work off the nerves, when you didn't hear your name called, can you explain how disappointing that is? And, I don't think anybody has projected you in the realm of Geno Atkins, for example, but, the fact that you've got video playing against big-time opponents in college football should get you a sniff if you follow my drift from a draft standpoint. And how just disappointing was that evening, that afternoon and evening for you, the third day of the draft especially?
It was very disappointing, especially the third day, because the third day is like the longest day. It starts at noon and you sitting there on the couch for hours, and you're watching guys get drafted. And with me, like, I'm happy for every guy in the draft that got picked up. I'm happy for every guy that has gotten picked up from the free agency standpoint. But from more of a personal, selfish standpoint, I was very disappointed. And in moments like that, you kind of sit back and think, like, okay, what could I have done differently? And I had to take a moment. I ended up calling some family and talking to some of the more, let me say, kind of my spiritual foundation of family that I have. And it kind of put me back into perspective. One thing that, I've always told my brothers, when something don't go our way, you get 24 hours to be upset, pissed off, and after that, it's right back to work. So it was one of those things where in the moment, I was disappointed. And like I said, I tried to recap on what could I have done, what did I do and did not do leading up to, draft weekend. But at the same time, too, I also had to bring myself back to reality of some of it is due to the fact that I did not get a pro day and then I did not get invited to the combine, which those are things that are just out of my hands. There's nothing that I could do with that. So, I've just been trying to stay from there on, from that 24 hours. Once that 24 hours ended, I've been back to the mindset of I'm going to stay on track. I'm going to stay the course. I'm going to keep grinding. I'm going to keep pushing myself how I've always pushed myself. So that way, when the opportunity is there that presents itself, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, take advantage, like goal line, right? Run in there.
That's it.
And do your thing. Jordan, I mean, one of my favorite things was a picture you tweeted out of you were spitballing from a standpoint of ideas, though. You came up with that idea Gatorade ought to invent a sippy cup. I mean, I thought that was excellent.
Man, because every time I come in, like, literally, like, I'll be in the kitchen maybe cooking, or I'll be coming downstairs, and she might be downstairs with my brothers, and somehow, some way, she finds the Gatorade bottle. She has a sippy cup. Yeah. And she'll throw it down and grab the Gatorade bottle and start drinking out of it. So I was like, man, I got to get a picture of this. They need to start making sippy cups so she'll leave my Gatorade bottle alone.
Then again, you may be revolutionizing how you bring kids up. Maybe they need a squirt bottle instead of a sippy cup. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
maybe.
I'm babysitting my wife and I are babysitting my grandson Owen, and he moved to straws really fast. He's only a year and 4 months old, or 3 months old, but he's it's really funny, little kids. You give them an opportunity, they go in there, kind of like what you're waiting on with the NFL. Hey, let me ask you this stuff. Yeah, how frustrating is it to know that you've still got this burning inside you, this ability, and you know what I mean? You're trying to make sure other people see it. Obviously, you posted a video earlier this week or maybe late last week on Google where you showed yourself, on Twitter where you showed yourself going through a workout of all kinds, and all kinds of things. And just, is it almost like you're screaming, hey, take a chance on this guy?
Yeah, it was one of those things I did it for multiple reasons. Number one reason that I did it was to show that I am still working. It's because, we got this pandemic going on in our nation that's not going to stop the hunger that I've always had in my stomach and the chip that I've always had on my shoulder when it comes to, the game of football and pursuing my dream. And that was another thing, just to show that even though draft weekend didn't go how I wanted it to, that it's not going to put a block on my mentality, my mindset, and my work ethic. Because at the end of the day, like I said, I'm very spiritual, and I believe God does everything for a reason. And he's also allowed me to wake up every morning for a reason. What that reason fully is, I don't know, but I'm going to do what I can with it to my best ability. And, if that means me going to a local park and to, grind, and I'm going to do so. So it's also to try to, help also motivate some other people of, if there's a will, there's a way. If you woke up this morning, you can still get work in. But then it's also that still help me kind of let people see that I'm working, and I haven't lost none of my touch. I still have the BB touch, the first step, the aggression, the hands, and everything that Coach Johnson taught me at Ohio State.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I think you might remember this, but after the Rose Bowl, we got to do locker room interviews, which is rare times when when the locker room's open, and when they started screaming that the locker room was now closing to the media, I went over and I whispered in your ear. I said, I don't know when your football career is going to end one way or the other, but you definitely ought to consider media. You definitely ought to consider getting into the media, because I always like the way you've been able to express yourself, and it also proves the way when you talk that you're paying attention to the world around you. You're not just like as I call it, a leaf floating down the creek. You know what I mean? And number one, what did you think when I told you that? Number two, have you always thought that you could entertain people down the road one way or the other?
When you first told me, I'm like, oh, maybe. I'm not sure.
You're saying, what is this guy? What's this guy talking about? That's what you said to yourself. Go ahead now.
I thought to myself, this is more up Tim's alley. I'm out of practice. I don't know if I'll be good enough for that, but I definitely put some thought into it. And I did actually consider, because literally right after you said it, I had about 10 other people say the same thing to me. Like, have you ever thought about going into, commentary? I'm like, I don't know. I've never seen myself in that realm. So, but if I do decide to go down that route, I know who to call.
Well, let me put it to you this way. There are a few people who can put sentences together, and I don't think I qualify as this, but I think you do. They can put sentences together, but also are unafraid to put themselves out there. You understand? I mean, to really express what they're thinking, how they see life, etc., and kind of give you an unvarnished. It's unvarnished from the standpoint of their opinion, but it is varnished in the way they are able to express themselves. And I've always liked that about you. But then I also see, we're talking about a fellow who dyed his hair a couple of different colors at one point. As I told you, that one time when it was gold or blonde, I said, you're like Notre Dame, you're playing under the Golden Dome. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that takes a little chutzpah. And the wearing the cowboy hat. I mean, I've got a cowboy hat just like that, by the way. And but I wouldn't necessarily wear it in public all the time, but you had no problems. I mean, there aren't a lot of guys like you out there who kind of find their voice, so to speak, BB, like you have. Where do you think that comes from?
I think for me, it stems from at a young age. You know my story. Just after my father passing away, I was one of those kids that I was a major introvert. I really stayed to myself. I didn't really say too much. And I can say the older that I got, and the more I started to realize that, just you talking to a person, you can make a difference in somebody's day. I think I started to blossom a little bit more, and I think once I hit Ohio State and I started to learn more about myself, and I started to become more open to talking to people, getting to know people on a deeper level, and I started to realize that within myself, I am a big people person. I said, you know what? I'm about to just be me, and if somebody like it, that's great. If they don't, that's okay too. I don't mind it. I'm not going to take it to heart. I'm still going to sleep good at night. So I can say once I hit like my senior year of high school going into college, like I said, I started to get more comfortable within myself and understanding myself more and who I was and how I can make an impact on other people. I started to blossom more. Then it got to the point where I was in full-fledged BB mode. I don't really care what I do. I'll wear the sparkly shoes, the cowboy hat. Somehow, some way, I know I can make it look good. And if I don't, I think it look good in my head, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, still a little Richard. You're big BB. There you go.
Yes, sir.
It's really funny. You also opened up with folks about, about taking advantage of, the psychological help that you can get now at Ohio State, and just how much guts did that take to let people kind of know some of your challenges, if you follow my drift?
It was very challenging to come out and speak about it, just because. It's one of those things where it's taboo to be vulnerable in our society. You know what I mean? And especially as a man, it's even more taboo just because, we at a young age, it's this stigma of, as a man, if you're vulnerable, then you're soft and you're weak. But, after learning a lot of things at Ohio State as far as from the mental health aspect of things, and then, like I said, me also, my personality blossoming and realizing the impact words can make on a person and personality can make on a person and your characteristics and your character as a whole can make on a person, I realized that, why not come out and talk about what I'm going through? Why not open up about my struggles? Just because I know that if I'm struggling with it, somebody else is definitely struggling with it. And, I realized that, with Ohio State, I have this major platform, and it makes it a little bit easier to get my words and get my story out to a broader variety of people to touch and help more people. So it was definitely challenging. It was weird. It was awkward. It was uncomfortable, but I'm like, you know what? If you can dye your hair different colors and wear sparkly shoes that you got from Payless on the clearance rack, then you know what? Why not? You can talk about this too. So
I can't believe they had shoes your size with sparkly shoes on the clearance rack at Payless. So that's hard to believe, man. Those look special order to me.
Not at all.
Hey, BB, what did it mean though to have your head coach come out and like back you guys though on this new focus of that mental health awareness is as big a thing as your physical health awareness, and have Ryan Day basically not only say, hey, that's okay, but embrace that idea of finding your true self. You know what I mean? What did that mean to you to have him embrace it?
It meant a lot to me, especially just from, like, if you look at it from the football side of Ohio State, when I had Coach Meyer and, with Coach Mick, one thing that they taught us from day one is just everybody in this sport of football is physically gifted. What separates you from everybody else is your mental strength and how you revert back to your training. But now to translate that over to mental health, it's like we talk about mental strength all the time on a football field and when you're training and, when you're running in 90-degree heat and you got about 10 more suicides to do and you just want to break down. It's kind of the same concept of mental health. And when you're struggling and you got every obstacle in front of you and you sometimes you just don't know what to do and how to deal with it, it goes back to the mental. You got two choices. You're going to take it on and figure it out, or you're going to break down. And when I started to learn more about mental health and my mental health level and stability, when Coach Day jumped on it, it was amazing for me to see him, a part of, this taboo topic in society. And if you ever get a chance to talk to him about, his journey with mental health, he has an amazing story too. And I think that's one of the things that also allowed me and Coach Day to get closer, is because he has a story like I have a story, and he's passionate about the topic just like I'm passionate about the topic. And he backed me and other players, with this taboo and topic that a lot of people just try to avoid and don't want to talk about, especially from the male perspective. So I definitely have a lot of love for him, and I appreciate him.
Yeah, I was going to say his father committed suicide, and your father was murdered. I mean, it's like, but it's still loss of a father at a very young age. I mean, it can have all kinds of, et cetera. And I'm, that's just part of your story and stuff. But hey, I wanted to ask you this though: how much of seeking at counseling was you being just curious about it? I mean, because like I said, that's what I like about you. You're not afraid to kind of stick your foot in the door, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. What exactly was the question? My fault.
Well, in other words, how much of that was you just curious about whether this could help me, and what is the process like about, about you going after that counseling? How much of it was you just being curious about the thing?
A lot of it, I'd say about 90% of it was curiosity. Just because for me, once I was able to kind of backtrack on my life and where my journey with mental health started, I realized that my outlet was always sports, not even just football. Like, even times I would go to the gym and play basketball with my brothers. And I also realized that, talking to a psychiatrist or a counselor wasn't something that helped me. But at the same time, too, like I said, me researching and more and learning more, it helps some people. So it really sparked my curiosity of, are there proper avenues to take with trying to get help and deal with this? Are there proper situations and environments that you should put and should not put yourself in when you're struggling? And I learned that everybody's different. Some people like to talk to a psychiatrist or a counselor. Some people use sports, like me, for example, as an outlet. Some people would rather talk to parents. Some people like to write in a journal. Some people like to listen to music. So I learned that everybody is different and everybody varies on how they deal with and handle their own journey with mental health. And I was, and I ended up, I was blessed enough to be able to find mine early, and I had it even before I was fully aware of the aspect and the topic of, mental health and depression and, what it looked like and what went into it. So I had my outlet at a young age and never really knew it until I got to college. Yeah,
man. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I like about you. You know how to tell it. Real quick before we go, are you in touch with Tommy Togiai and Teron Vincent and some of these guys? What are they going through right now? Not getting to work out as a team. I mean, not getting to go through the off-season conditioning, et cetera. What are they telling you about how champing at the bit they are?
They're definitely ready to get back on the field. Biggest thing right now with them is this, having to adapt to the circumstances. They're still trying to grind and still trying because they're still working to pursue a dream as well. You know what I mean? And they're trying to keep working with what limited resources that they have. So I know they're definitely eager, they're definitely ready to get back on the field. But it's one of the things like everybody else that is kind of trying to take it day by day and figure things out and doing a little bit of kind of some jailhouse workouts. But hey, it's working for them.
Hey, last thing up, BB, what's the toughest thing when you're not in a regimen right now? Is it keeping the weight off? Is it keeping the weight up? Is it trying to eat the right things as you're trying to, get a free agent kind of shot? I mean, what is the toughest thing you found just as a guy of size like you are?
All of it is, all for me ties into the discipline. Being disciplined is because it's one of those things where now, like, you're working to try to get to the next phase of, your life, but you don't really know what that process is. You know what I mean? You don't really know what you'd be ready for. I don't know if I'm going to, a team's going to want me to gain weight, lose weight, what. So I think the biggest thing for me right now is just staying disciplined and staying within my dieting regimen, continuing to work out the best that I can to, maintain my speed, my other physical elements of myself. So I say the biggest thing is just being disciplined all the way across the board, and sticking to a regimen that is good and comfortable for my body to help me be in a good enough place for when that moment presents itself and I could take full advantage of it with no regrets.
In other words, keep as much of an edge as you can, right? Hey, is your agent telling you there is interest out there? I mean, that once this thing kind of lifts, you're going to get a shot. What's your sense of that?
Teams are definitely interested. And I'll definitely get a shot. I'll be in somebody's camp. Yeah. Like I said, the biggest thing is just, getting the physical done, passing the physical, and kind of being able to allow my personality to blossom probably as well. In front of, some of these coaches and GMs that will be the ones investing into me. So, and I understand that, when it comes to this next phase, these coaches are making an investment and they need to be able to get their investment back plus more. And I know for sure I can do that with no problems. It's just a matter of me getting in the door. So, once this opens up and I'm able to, get these physicals done, pass these physicals, interact with these coaches and GMs, I'll definitely be in somebody's camp.
Ladies and gentlemen,
patient right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I like to say this is a Tim May podcast, but this was actually the BB Landers podcast with Tim May on the side, and this is a young man who has a future one way or the other in and around sports. I do believe, BB. Hang in there, BB, and thanks for joining me, my man.
I appreciate you, brother.
All right, we'll see you next time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, BB.
You have a blessed one.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe below to get the latest videos from Lettermen Row.
We got Letterman Live, we've got the practice report, we got rapid reaction. Hey, and we got Buck IQ with Zach Bourne.
For sure. We got recruiting breakdowns with Berm. We got whatever you need. Ohio State football and Ohio State athletics, we've got you covered here at Lettermen Row.